Good evening, Rams. I'm Ren Wadsworth. Tonight on CTV, we delve into the world of student government. The Associated Students of Colorado State University has served the campus for many years. We'll discuss its history and how it has transformed. Changes to the election rules and member resignation may raise questions for what this year may look like. And find out students' plans with voting in this year's election. All that and more on the first installment of Right Now with Ren, which starts, you guessed it, right now. The Associated Students of Colorado State University was originally founded in 1917. The institution was established only 40 years after the initial creation of CSU. The inclusion of student government at the university served as a way for a small percent to advocate for all students at a campus, local, state, and national level. Throughout its time at CSU, ASCSU has served as a way for students to be an active part of major decisions for the university. As elected officials, student government members are able to represent the student body. This is crucial to communications between the administration and students. Those who dedicate their time to ASCSU have responsibilities and powers unique to each position. You might have walked right past it without realizing what ASCSU is, but buried in the heart of the Laurie Student Center, a student-run organization has huge input on administrative decisions that impact CSU. With the power that comes with student government comes opinions from the body they serve.
The knowledge that I have of ASCSU is through things like El Centro.
I don't really have that much on it, but since I'm new here, I'll definitely take a look into it and definitely explore.
I think it's something that not a lot of people do. I don't know, for some reason it doesn't feel like it's important, but I think it should be. I think it's important to be involved in community and like a part of what's happening at our school.
ASCSU is responsible for the majority of undergraduate organizations on campus and oversees resources for students such as Ramride, transport, and accessible parking. ASCSU is responsible for an allocation of student fees here at Colorado State University, but are Rams ready for this year's election?
Yeah, I'll probably vote. I need to see the candidates. I don't even really know when the elections are happening.
Maybe if someone really comes out swinging, like if there's some radical, they want to do something.
The next election for ASCSU has already begun deciding the future student leadership and advocates for Colorado State University. Seems elections may not be on the minds of some Rams, but this won't stop the election train or students' thoughts about campus government.
Specifically, just seeing how kind of the same type of person runs every single time, and we don't see much diversity in that sense because, you know, sometimes it's scary for different communities to come into spaces that aren't necessarily welcoming of that.
I would think maybe getting freshmen and transfer students more involved, especially with COVID now kind of starting to go away, in the attempt to just get people more involved on campus and more in-person events.
So I would love to see a student body that cares about like events and things that people like genuinely want to go to just to connect with others.
The campaign stretch for this year's candidate was set to kick off yesterday morning and last all day. In previous years, the plaza would be filled with eager candidates and their displays, encouraging and enticing passerbys to stop and chat. This year, however, the election tables sat empty all day. High wind may have caused ASCSU, along with other organizations, to leave their tables. The first day of this session's campaign period did not start off with a bang. If voters aren't aware that elections are happening, it is unlikely they will participate. While it may only be the start, it's a bit disconcerting after several reforms to the student body government towards better transparency. Stay tuned. After the break, I'm discussing some of the recent changes to the election process and some recent personnel decisions.
Living with someone you don't know on the other side of the wall is hard, especially if you don't know how to be a good roommate. The first thing that you'll want to do to be a good roommate is make sure that you always stay quiet. Be considerate of others when using common spaces and appliances.
Hey, buddy, what you doing?
I'm just gonna need like 40 minutes. Be respectful of your roommate's privacy.
Ugh, my bad.
Finally, make sure that you clean up after yourself. Oh, fresh toothbrush.
Have you seen my toothbrush?
Follow these tips to get along with your roommates and your landlord.
Welcome back. Before the break, we discussed what ASCSU is and what they do with elections. With elections around the corner, the Associated Students of Colorado State University's officers are busy with preparations. Working towards your education is difficult enough. Adding to it the time commitment and responsibilities of holding a position in government could lead to significant stress. Since the start of the semester, several members of the Associated Students have resigned or shifted positions for a variety of reasons. Joining me in the studio tonight is Piper Russell, a reporter for the Collegian who has attended several Senate meetings where seceding was on the agenda. Now, Piper, my first question for you is that several members of the ASCSU have stepped down. Why do you think that might be?
I definitely think that for some of them, it was just a matter of kind of not being able to balance it with school and stuff. And then they announced that Emory Jenkins, the elections manager, resigned a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So speaking of that, that brings me right into my next question. Did you think that Emory Jenkins resigning was surprising in any way?
Yeah, it definitely did seem like a little bit of a surprise just because it was kind of abrupt. They didn't really talk about it at all before they announced that Emory had resigned.
With elections so near, what impact do you think this could potentially have on ASCSU itself?
I definitely think it could have an impact just because there have been quite a few changes. That can definitely, just have an impact on ASCSU, but they did say that the only thing that would be changing would be who was running the elections. So I believe it is Gemma Boyenko who is now working as the interim elections manager, and she'll be managing everything. And I believe they are able to make it so all of the campaigns and everything will be on the same timeline and run as scheduled.
All right. And my last question, you kind of talked about it a little bit, is do you foresee this impacting the elections themselves in any way?
Yeah, so like I said, I do believe that the only thing that will be changing is who's running the elections. I know they did extend the due date for applications for the president, vice president, and speaker of the Senate.
Yeah, do you think that might be because they only got a smaller number of applicants this year?
Possibly, and I also know that they wanted to make sure that they were able to reach out to the whole student body and just do their best to make sure everyone knew that they could apply to be the work in ASCSU.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight, Piper.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I loved having your insight tonight.
Thank you.
While some at ASCSU are stepping down, others are stepping up to the plate of the election. The current president, Christian Dixon, and Vice President Mary released a promotional video encouraging Rams to run for student leadership.
Hello, my fellow Rams. My name is Christian Dixon, and I'm honored to serve as your student body president.
And my name is Mary Geber-Sadek, and I'm super grateful to serve as your student body vice president. It's been an absolute pleasure serving you this year, and unfortunately, our term is almost up.
But we know that the next generation of leaders will rise up and represent your voice, and I want to personally invite you to consider running for president of the student body, vice president, speaker of the Senate, or senator within ASCSU.
Members of ASCSU are elected officials who make major decisions with a percentage of tuition is spent every year. It's imperative that students continue to participate in elections so that the student government at CSU can continue to function as a democratic representation of all who attend CSU. Elections this year plan to follow the past itinerary with the exception of the short-lived introduction of ranked choice voting. This electoral procedure allows voters to rank their candidates in order of preference as opposed to just voting for one. This method has slowly made its way around Colorado. Starting in Carbondale and Basalt, it has grown into communities such as Telluride, Aspen, and Boulder. Colorado is not the only place that has taken a liking to this voting system. Currently, over 90 colleges in the U.S. employ ranked choice voting in student government. However, CSU is no longer on that list. Although they advertised that this method would carry over into the 2020, the final decision was made in their 19th Senate session. Now, students will only vote for their preferred candidate for all the positions. We reached out to the current elections manager but did not receive a response in time for tonight's broadcast. It's unclear why ranked choice voting was promoted at the beginning of this semester, only to be abandoned right before the race. But as organizations across Colorado continue to push for this form of democratic participation, it begs the question, why does it no longer have a place at CSU? This year's candidates have been announced, with 3 potential speakers of the Senate competing for the spot. However, in an unprecedented turn this year, there's not 4, not 3, and not even 2 options for president and vice president this season. Instead, Robert Long and Elijah Sandoval will run unopposed. ASCSU candidates will be campaigning until April 1st. Debates for the president and vice president will be hosted and streamed here on CTV till Monday evening at 7. Tune in at the same time the following day as I moderate the Speaker of the Senate debate. Voting can be accessed electronically via RamWeb the first week of April, with results announced on the 6th. And with that, we've come to the end of the first installment of Right Now with Ren. But stick around. Emily Kozel will bring the latest in CSU tennis up next on CTV.
Awkward. Do I look familiar? I should. You might remember me from here. Here. Or maybe even here. But an awkward silence can be a great thing. It can actually be a perfect moment to reach out to a friend and ask if they're okay if they seem down. It doesn't matter how you say it.
You all right?
Everything's okay?
All G?
You all right, girl?
Oh,
You cool?
you bugging dog.
Just show you're there for them. Go on, Kelly. Susie Awkward.
Hey, you haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
What's up, Ram fans? Welcome back to Tuesday Night Sports. I'm your host, as always, Emily Kozel, here to pick up right where Ren left off and close out the night with some updates in the world of CSU tennis. As well, let's take a look into how the Avs just keep on winning, no matter the odds. So, with all that being said, let's just jump right into the action. Over the weekend, women's tennis faced off against both Loyola Marymount and Cal State Fullerton on a long road trip out to California. And let's just say, these results weren't exactly what Ram fans were hoping for. To start the weekend off, the Green and Gold took on Loyola Marymount at their place in Los Angeles. And coming into this one, the Lions team surely wasn't a squad that CSU could overlook at all, seeing as they currently sit at number 17 in the weekly ITA rankings for NCAA tennis. And when you dive into the end results for Friday, it's pretty clear that on the other side, this LMU team didn't underestimate the Rams either, pulling off the match dub with an overall score of 4-1, and once again proving exactly why they keep on receiving national praise. But even though the Green and Gold couldn't pull off the team dub, there's still definitely a bright spot for the Rams amidst all the chaos. CSU grad student Summer Della Bona killed it in her individual singles matchup, taking the win in the 5th spot in the match order and putting the only point for CSU the entire afternoon on the board. Not to mention adding her already 13th win of the season so far, which catapults her up the list to grab the second leading scoring spot for CSU this year so far. Now, that's pretty impressive if you ask me. And on to their second matchup of the weekend, the Green and Gold had a pretty quick turnaround, traveling an hour down south through the traffic to take on Cal State Fullerton the very next day. And unfortunately, just like on Friday, the Rams couldn't get it done in this one either, with Fullerton winning in a tight one 4-3. But hey, to be fair to the road squad for a sec, the Titans are yet another ranked team in the ITA, and it's really important to note that this CSU squad has only lost to ranked teams so far this year. So while it was an 0-2 weekend for the Green and Gold, they aren't doing as bad as you may think. And they come out of this trip out west sitting at a decent 6-5 record. And a quote from CSU's assistant coach, Taylor Hollander, summed up this match in Cali perfectly, saying, "It came down to some points here and there that didn't go our way and some unfortunate matchups, but we did do well." And man, was she right. I mean, this Titan team is some tough competition. And again, the Rams only lost by 1 point. And behind this mixed success on the court is CSU ace Radika Bushkova, who took the dub in the #1 spot for singles. And beyond just last weekend, this junior is currently the one to watch when it comes to this Rams team, currently sitting as the leading singles winner for the Green and Gold. And with how consistent she's been week in and week out, it really doesn't seem like she has any plan of slowing down soon. And now that we're done with looking back at this weekend, when you look ahead in the schedule for this squad, this week marks the start of their conference play. And just like softball, their first matchup is against San Jose State on Saturday at 10 in the morning. We'll be sure to keep you in the loop on that one and everything else going down on the court over the course of the spring here at CTV. And on that note, let's switch gears and talk about the pride and joy of Colorado hockey, the Avs, who currently sit at a record of 45-13-4. That's right, only 13 losses all season, which obviously puts them at first place in the Central Division, not to mention the leader for the coveted President's Trophy. And last night, Avalanche took that league-leading record to the test against the third-place squad in the Pacific Division, the Edmonton Oilers, right down the road at Ball Arena. And so, how'd they do? Well, the Avs managed to pull off yet another win in overtime with a score of 3-2. And man, what an exciting one it was. Immediately following the puck drop, the Avs struck first, led by none other than number 96, Mikko Rantanen, who added on his team-leading 31 goals so far this season. And on the other side, the Oilers laid a goose egg out there, even though they took a whopping 10 shots on goal. But luckily for Edmonton fans, their Oilers started to cash in more of these opportunities come the second period, where Kyler Yamamoto and Evander Kane both finally hit bottom against Avs keeper Darcy Kuemper. But hey, the Avs were also able to put up a point once again by their star Rantanen to even things up at 2 apiece entering the third, which was an absolute nail-biter. Both teams were tied up and no one was able to make a shot. Seriously, there were no goals the entire period. Just some great defense from both sides of the ice. Which then leads us into overtime, where, like so many times this season, the Avs were able to get a quick shot off and take the win before overtime really even got started, taking things less than a minute into extra time thanks to a slap shot from Nate McKinnon. Overall, this was a great game where both sides could have taken things. But I have to say, as a Colorado sports fan, I'm so happy that the Avs got the win. And they have quite the team this year and were even able to add 2 more guys to their already loaded roster before the NHL trade deadline hit yesterday. in Arturi Kunakan from the Montreal Canadiens and Andrew Cagliano from San Jose. And man, if this squad is already playing this well, I can't even imagine what they'll be like now with these two new pieces. And with that, Ram fans, that's all the action I have for you tonight. Tune in tomorrow for Laced Up. Thanks for watching and have a great night.